Hello and thanks for joining us on Newsweek as we examine top stories we followed in the course of the week. Now, call it a case of carelessness or blame it on negligence, it is the avoidable loss of lives that has raised concerns on safety standards in Nigeria. From one fallen tanker to another one exploding elsewhere, it has been a black week for residents of Onitsha in Anambra State. Shock and outrage can best describe reactions in the wake of the recent revelations of torture houses in Katsina and Kaduna State. These correctional facilities are now subject to investigation by government authorities after being accused of human rights abuse and violations. Federal authorities have received a presidential order to address safety issues in Nigeria, where President Muhammadu Buhari revealed this while commiserating with victims of the recent fire incident in Onitsha, Anambra State.
24 hours after the inferno, traders scavenged through what used to be their treasure base. There are reports that not less than 500 shops were destroyed, and with them, billions of naira.
If the state can come
Chukwuma Onoga is one of the traders counting their losses. He runs a boutique business, but is now left with nothing.
Common pin, about 2 shops I have here, 2 packets, so I did not get even 1 pin of anything out. I have no less than goods of up to 3 million something in the shop here, dissenting, or more than that.
He, however, pleaded with the state government to come to his aid and assist in any way possible. Some other traders who spoke to TVC News said the fire could have been contained if there was any functional emergency response system in the state.
We called fire service, we went there, waiting for them to respond. Nobody responded. They didn't show up. Nothing happened from them.
This is a situation that the fire service people could have come on time and they curtailed the situation, but they didn't respond to us, so we have to save ourselves to surface the situation.
I'm trying to tell the governor of Anambra State, he should provide good facilities and a good fire service for us traders. I can see that now the governor have no interest on the traders.
There is no official record of the number of deaths in the fire, but President Muhammadu Buhari earlier in the day expressed pain over the death of a mother and a child in the tragedy. He also extended his sympathy to other victims of the explosion whose houses, shops and other property were destroyed. The president has ordered that the Ministry of Transport, the Federal Road Safety Commission and other concerned bodies to urgently address the issue of safety standards in the country to stem such tragedies. Also, the governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, visited the scene on Thursday morning and sympathized with the affected families. A panel headed by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Nkemo Okeke, has been set up by the State Governor to immediately determine the cause of the accident and why the firemen could not put out the fire, as well as how the condition of the victims can be ameliorated.
Well, joining me to discuss this in the studio, I have Dokun Adedeji, Public Health Consultant and Public Affairs Analyst. And on Skype, I have Cyril Abaku, TVC News in-house researcher. Good to have you both on the program tonight. Let's begin with you now, Dokun. This is not the first of such incident we have in Nigeria. What do you think can be done about recurring tanker incidents?
You see, one thing that bothers me is when something happens like this, we begin to run around when we should have fundamental ways of dealing with these things. The thing is, it is not just to look at the tanker, it is to look at how they run. Why should we have tankers still running our roads carrying petrol? Those are very fundamental questions we need to look at. If also we have tankers, what are the safety guidelines? When are they supposed to go out? Okay, if the tanker there's a fire, do we have ready fire services that will curtail it? Even when we have something that looks like a fire service department, do they have the vehicle? Do they have the personnel that are trained? Do they have even the materials to use? You call them, sometimes they tell you that they need to go and get water. I mean, those are things, and you know the thing there is like a string. If we don't take care of all the parameters that are associated and we just want to deal with the tanker, we'll be making a major mistake. So we need to sit down, as the president has said. Let us appreciate what are the things that are lacking. What are the things that need to be done? It's not only Ministry of Transport, all the other ministries that are adjunct ministers that need to be worked. Then we do it. If there's a governor in Anambra State, permit me to say, what are the contingency plans for places like people are crowded, like shops? Is there a fire service close to them or situated within the market space? And then in the market space, are the shops located? Are they built too closely together? And then is there any guidelines as to how people arrange the stuff in their shop so that in case there's fire, there's something to be done? It's a gamut of steps that I think that needs to be taken. It's not just to do our usual knee-jerk reaction. Oh, set up a panel, and no result of the panel in 2 weeks, in 2 months, in 2 years. In another 2 weeks, there'll be another fire incident. What have we learned?
Now, Cyril, what's your position on this matter? How do you think the government can address this situation head on?
I think, first of all, I completely agree with everything Toko has said. The issue is that, there is a lack of emergency management culture in Nigeria. And so the same incident happens within the space of 2 days, twice in the space of 3 days, twice in 3 days, the same thing happens. Normally, we should even be asking, the government wants to put up a panel to investigate what happened. But first of all, a market like that, worth billions of naira, is there even an insurance policy for shop owners there? It should have been, it should have been there in the first place. And so the government shouldn't be the only one shouldering the whole responsibility. If fire happened at about 12:30 or so in the afternoon, and there was no fire service until about 7:40 thereabout or 8:40 thereabout in the evening, clearly it shows that the problem was not the fire. It meant that disaster was always there, was just waiting to happen. And so you can't even say if that happens again, now what's going to happen? The reality is that, yes, you can form a panel to look into what has happened, but there are fundamental questions to be asked. As I speak to you, Esther, I can tell you for a fact that, investigating what happened at Ochanja and Omaba areas of Onitsha, for instance, is even beyond what the Deputy Governor's Committee is going to do. Because we are talking about state of tankers carrying petrol on the road. That's not what the state government should be looking into. So critically, let's ask ourselves some questions. If government has been budgeting money for the fire service in Anambra State, where are those monies? And if people have been buying firefighting equipment, where are the equipment? This is where we should be starting from. As a matter of fact, I expected that by now, the fire service in the state should have submitted this report to the governor. That should have been the basis for any investigation that they want to carry out.
All right, that's a fine place to hold your thoughts for now, Cyril. Let me quickly come to Deji with me in the studio. Now, what other concerns do you think the relevant authorities should focus now in raising the standards of public safety?
I mean, as continuation from what we've said, in a place like the market, the big market, what are the safety guidelines even of the market? For instance, you find that in those markets, people can do electrical connection in any form. Is there anybody watching those things? Does anybody check those things? Not only that, Lagos State did something a few weeks ago. They sent some people to Edo State. They go and learn about how to do something, I think about education or something. Lagos State has the best emergency program in this country. Where are the other states learning from them? If this same thing happened in Lagos, 2 days ago or thereabout, there was this tanker, whatever, Lasema quickly contained it. These are things that we can learn from one another as a country and then set up this safety guideline and have a national policy on these things. If we don't begin to work in very fundamental ways, we will just be running around in circles and the things will keep happening. The thing we must set up, like Anambra case, is to how did it happen? What can we do? What are the things that are necessary? And they will put them in place and we make sure they work. It's not just to put physical things there. Do we have the trained personnel? Can they handle those things? If they can they get trained? You find out that what they will do maybe in the next 2 weeks, they begin to make plans about we're providing money for this, and then they provide and everybody walks away. There has to be consistent steps taken to get this thing sorted out.
Cyril, final, your last take on this matter.
Well, the issue is that, we need to go back to basics once again. Tomorrow, from what we understand, I think there are going to be, like the rightly pointed out, they're going to be distributing some money to ameliorate a lot of the of victims and so on. But we shouldn't stop there. It's not just Ochanja. There are many markets in Anambra State. So let's make it a general thing. Let's go down these markets. The same challenges or the same issues that Ochanja has, do other markets also have them? Because if they have and there are no measures in place, those also are the waiting to happen. Let us begin to put right policies in place and make sure that markets across Nigeria and public places are secure with global best practices in mind. If we don't do that, the same thing continues. 10,000 shops got burnt in a space of about 7 hours, and there was no emergency response unit. That was clearly a national failure.
Well, that's a fine place to leave it, and I hope the authorities responsible quickly act to these concerns. Still to come on the program, shock and outrage can best describe reactions in the wake of recent revelations of torture houses in Katsina and Kaduna State. Authorities are accusing the correctional facilities of human rights abuse and violations. We'll look at that in a moment. Stay with us. This week, the police in Katsina State closed a traditional torturing center in Daura. Inmates at the latest camp busted in Kaduna State have been making confessions of assault against them, and this report takes a look at how it all started.
Rigasa community, predominantly Muslim, is where the terminal from which trains leave Kaduna for Abuja is. It's also where this building, now called the House of Torture, is situated. On Thursday, police discovered more than 300 boys and men here, many of them in chains, some with whip marks, and many more starved. I returned days later to see it under lock and key, with police on guard. There are other visitors, and residents are ready to share their thoughts with me. They want the government to tread carefully and consult widely about the institution, whose founders say is a transformation center. The President Muhammadu Buhari-led government has described as abuse of rights to adults and children activities that until last Thursday held at this hub. It has also commended Muslim authorities for dismissing the notion of it being an Islamic school. But residents of this community and others who claim to have had their children here say the presidency has been misinformed.
I brought my child and I'm 100% satisfied with the school, the way they take our children, because we have started seeing improvements.
From their various houses, they used to bring food to them. And then someone that their houses are poor, they used to give money for their feeding. They are feeding the children 3 times daily, unless Monday and Thursday they are doing passing.
The inmates were initially moved to the Ranchers Bay Stadium within Kaduna City, but were later moved to the Hajj camp at Mando along Port Road. I make my way to the camp to see their present state. Here, I am told many of them have been told to go to their families. I make my way in, and they are not the only ones. Government officials and security personnel are also here. As I probe more, they are quick to counter the version of the story I was told at the center. They tell me it's liberating leaving Rigasa.
They are lying. Those people that are saying all this, they are the member of the principal. They are the member of the school in charge, because he always bribed them. I would never like to go back to that school anymore. I'm over happiness now.
Officials of the Kaduna State government say releasing them comes with taking their details. They are also talking with the Nigeria Immigration Service for documentation of the foreign nationals before releasing them.
The remaining have been reunited with their families. They have been coming for them since yesterday, Saturday. So, and once they come, we take the proper documentation and then we allow the children to go.
I happen to be
But the legal team of the supposed rehabilitation center says the Kaduna State government has not done well. It says the center has been a molder of society and should rather be commended. This lawyer tells me it was started in 2000 and is duly registered. He says they will cooperate with security personnel on investigation. But they note that they will also give the center every cover to prove the intentions are pure.
The school is registered. The conventional practice here in Kaduna for registering Islamic school is to register with Bureau for Religious Affairs. This school has been very, very helpful to Kaduna State government. So much so that their effort was appreciated by the director of SSS then, who gave them a bike. The bike is still there. They have never at any time advertised for purpose of admission. Parents willingly go there with their words.
For now, students of the institution have been allowed to reintegrate with the society. Some loved ones came to pick theirs. It's yet to be seen what will become of this center. But those behind it say they've never done nor meant evil. It remains under lock and key. Investigation into the matter is said to have commenced by the police. And those behind the supposed rehabilitation center are to be charged and prosecuted if found guilty.
Well, I still have my guests, Cyril Abako and Dr. Dokun Adedeji, to analyze this. Well, let me come to you now. Cyril, what are your thoughts, first off, on this latest find where young adults, even children, are maltreated in the name of being reformed?
Well, I think we shouldn't be deceived as to the intentions of reform, purportedly taking place in that place. If you remember, Esther, I think just some days ago, another one was again busted in Kaduna. So we have two in Kaduna, one in Katsina, and so on. And some of us have even said that, look, we need to comb more states to see if there are such places like this. It's not reform. This is dehumanization. This is modern slavery. And I think it is important for us to realize what it is so that we can deal with it head on. There is no place, there's no room for gathering people, children as young as 5, and men as old as 30 or 40. You put them together in a building where they are sodomized, where they are tortured, there are chains on their legs. I don't want to, I mean, what are you teaching them if that's the condition in which they should be learning? Even if the name or the banner that they put out there is reform, I think that they are rather being deformed. And so kudos to the state governments that have taken the bull by the horn to expose those places, expose their operators, and we hope that they are brought to justice. And then the victims of these torture chambers shouldn't just be released, they should be properly debriefed. We need a combined team of psychologists, of psychiatrists, of education experts, people who are experts in this sort of things, to bring them together and debrief them, and so that they can be properly reintegrated to society. Clearly, if this thing had gone unchecked, it would have been a time bomb. Because there's just so much to look at on this issue alone. You have nationals from other countries who come into Nigeria like that to do, to take part in these learning centers, quote and unquote. So there's an issue with our borders as well. But for what it is worth, those are not learning centers. They are not places for reform. Those are places for dehumanization and slavery.
All right, point taken there, Cyril.
And deal with it, yes.
Now, Dr. Dokun, these, of course, raises concerns of human rights abuses and, of course, violations, which often go unreported. Now, how do you think issues such as this should be addressed to serve as a deterrent?
You know how I see all these things? They are like sentinels rising up in our faces in order to deal with the issues that we face every day. It's hypocrisy if we think this is the first place. We know. Everybody knows that this goes on everywhere most times. But when somebody now brings it out, it becomes news. Until we get serious about our responsibility to our people as a society, what is the worth of a Nigerian? And what are the things that should be his portion as a national? The thing is, if you watch the BBC on drugs about a year or two ago, didn't you see people there that had chains on their feet? But we were not looking at that. We were looking at the issue of the drugs. Should anybody even has a drug problem be chained? It didn't bother us. We walked away from it. Sex for grades. Is it the first time we are hearing about that? These are the issues with us in this country. Somebody raises and puts a light on it. We pretend it doesn't happen. I can guarantee you that if you go every state in this country, you probably will find something like this. What happens, and you know, it's a gamut of issues. Some parents willingly take their children there for some reasons.
Is it a case of the parents not knowing the gravity of which they are sending their wards to be exposed to maltreatment or
No. Sometimes they know. But what happens is they don't want these children with them for some reason. Maybe some of them are disabled. Maybe some of them have one issue or the other. And then out of stigmatization from society, they take their children away from them so that they are freed from that entanglement. And then they heap the responsibility upon somebody else. They probably may not know they are changed. Some of them know they are changed. I know some places in Oyo State when I was in medical school that we used to visit where they treat psychiatric, the local people say they treat psychiatric cases. They tie them, they chain them, they use broom, they use all kinds of things to beat them. Don't we know? We know. But the thing is, where are the various segments of government that should monitor this? I was telling you about in Ministry of Labor, there is Factory Inspectorate Unit. Show me how many factories they visit. After the Kurodu fire incident, have you heard anything again about anybody visiting any factory, shutting? No, we're not serious. We don't take things serious in this country until something blows in our faces. That's what is happening now with these people. Now there'll be noise made, and everybody, in another 2 weeks, we will move to another thing. And that's the way it goes on.
Well, let's quickly come to you now. Cyril, what are your thoughts on the actions by the state government in shutting down some of these rehabilitations? Do you think that would have any impact at all in containing the practice that has been on for years?
No, well, I think even if the effort is maybe in one or two places, it's important. But beyond that, Esther, I think what we must not fail to do is to gather data and know what is going on. Because clearly, if you want to deal with this issue, as they just said, it's not just enough to grab media headlines. It is to have a broader policy approach to dealing with it and put it where it actually belongs. So, for instance, when you get them together like this, if you have a child in your state that should have been in school normally, but is not in school and is in a torture center, did you have how did I even slip through our fingers in the first place? For instance, that's the problem. And so there's a social dysfunction. And instead of us to sit back and say, look, there is need for us to actually embrace a broad-based social welfare program that can bring as many persons as possible within a common policy net to ensure inclusion. If we don't have policies that will ensure inclusion, then you can go on busting the centers, but nothing much is going to come out of it. You can bust one or two, the owners could even run away, but in the end, what comes out of it? What comes out of it? The worth of a Nigerian child. That's a big question. It is either they're being kidnapped in one part of the country and sold in another part of the country, or they're being taken to torture chambers by their parents. You even had that woman saying in the report that they are happy and satisfied with what is going on. If sincerely, that woman understands what people there go through, that they are being flogged, that they are being chained, that they are being stabbed, and she says she's satisfied with what is going on there, then it's even a problem. The problem is not even about the chamber anymore. It's about society. And what we have failed to do over a long period of time. People now begin to look at what is wrong and what is right. And so there's a process of that judgment. Until we fix our value system, Esther, I don't see where we are going with, with all of this, in spite of this.
All right, and that's a fine place to leave it, and we hope to get at the root of this matter and get it dealt with finally. Thanks a lot, Cyril Abaku, for your insights, and as well, my guest in the studio, Dr. Dokun Adedeji. Appreciate your time on Newsweek. And that's all at this episode. You can follow us on our social media platforms for updates. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using the handle at TVC News NG. You can also get details reporting on our website, tvcnews.tv. On to the next one, I am Esther Mokwariola. Bye.